Welcome to North Idaho Experience. Hey, in today's episode, Eric and I sit down with Neil Dyer. He's a retired Navy SEAL, and he runs a group up here called Warriors Rise, where he mentors young men and adults into that transition into manhood. It is a faith-based practice up here. This was an excellent conversation, probably one of my favorite podcasts of all time. We went through his career, and then, we talked a lot about faith, a lot about manhood, and good and evil. Excellent conversation. Great asset to the community up here in North Idaho. We also talked about Yeager Defense, a company he's involved with that is a North Idaho-made suppressors right here. So check this podcast out. I guarantee you guys will enjoy this one. And if you're thinking about making the move here to North Idaho, give our real estate team a call, text, or email. Thanks.
Some really cool companies out here, cool businesses.
Oh man, there's so many pockets of people and endeavors and just all of it. I feel like I've cracked a couple of them, but there's so many.
We keep running into more. It's cool. This podcast gives us the opportunity to meet people like you, and then it'll connect us to somebody else. We pull the thread, and we're like, oh, these people are up here too. Like, oh my gosh, this guy's building drones up here. Like, there's all kinds of cool shit, and it's endless. I freaking love it. I love that about North Idaho.
And like I said, if other states keep sucking enough, we might get like an Aero Precision to move to Idaho.
Yeah, we keep pumping that. We keep pumping that.
I know, we keep trying to do that. Big manufacturer.
Well, we had some recently, because a lot of our clients they hear us on here, and then they're like, I want to move. And the people that listen to us are like-minded, so it works out well. A lot of them happen to own manufacturing. We got a guy that I can't remember the name of the company. Maybe I shouldn't even say it, but he makes a forced reset trigger. He's coming up here. He wants to bring the whole company. Your gun guy.
Yeah. We had the catamaran guy for a while.
Catamaran guy. Yeah, it's cool. So it's just getting better and better in that regard. Yeah. A lot of people will be like, oh, North Idaho's getting full of liberals. I'm like, it's not. It's not. The people coming up here are not like that.
There's small contingents of folks that are trying to come up and inject a lot of areas that none of us really support. Like Schweitzer, I just saw something on Instagram.
That's a bummer. Yep.
I've already stirred up the hornet's nest this morning.
What was it? What did they do?
LGBTQ plus some whatever they add to it pizza party up on Schweitzer Mountain.
Yeah, with the drag show. Yeah.
Yep.
And it's kind of a bummer. It's the nicest mountain around. God damn it.
I keep saying this about Sandpoint. Sandpoint's interesting to me, man. It reminds me of like mid to late 90s Portland, where it was kind of hipster, and there's like a little bit of the artsy vibe, there's like big on coffee, and and I joke and call you hippie sometimes, but that one's more like
I got a little hippie in me.
You do. But this is like the other
control.
Yeah, but don't bring granola on the show.
But it's like Austin, Texas, right, where it's kind of this funky little vibe, and then you see the final stages, and you see what it turns into, and that my Sandpoint worries me a little bit. They got a little bit of
and
that
it should.
There.
Yeah, it should, especially for the folks like us at this table and the people you guys have on here.
Right.
It should worry us. Yeah. Because when good men, good people stand around, do nothing, and just let it watch and be like, oh, somebody else will do it, or this organization will do it, then what?
Or even now,
then it turns to Portland.
100%.
Or even now, it's harmless, right? It's not.
That's
going to
exactly
turn it.
right.
And then all of a sudden, we always talk about the boiling frog analogy, right?
Yep.
Just slowly turn that temperature up until all of a sudden you're boiled.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's enough good people up here that gives me hope that are actually starting to pay attention, or maybe are just paying. I don't know about start, but are paying attention. And a lot of them are transplants because they know, right? I mean, I lived in California for a long time. I'm not from there. Stop, but I lived there a long time, and but you spent time there, right? And we know what happens. These large metro areas, they lose their minds, and then the laws they create affect all of the people living out in the rural areas. And most of the people, hard to believe, but a lot of people in California are really country folk. Like you go up Northern California and there's dudes riding bulls. There's like country folk up there.
Same with Oregon. Same with all the blue states.
Yeah.
Like it's the major cities. It's the big populations where that control comes in. And you don't need to go to China to know what communism looks like.
Right. Yeah, you can find it in Portland.
Those that have fled communism are like, oh no, America is pretty much communism in some of these places.
Right.
It's terrible.
Well, that's what we say. The tail wags the dog. I mean, a lot of these people in other parts of the state, even Eastern Washington and Eastern Oregon especially, everybody in Eastern Oregon wanted to become Greater Idaho. That was the thing there for a minute. Right. They don't, but those policies absolutely affect the people that live on the other side of the state, even though what they do in their day-to-day lives is vastly different than what they do on the other side. But you're talking about communism. We have an openly socialist mayor of one of the largest cities in the country in Seattle. I mean, openly socialist.
New York City now, too.
Yes.
Oh, geez.
That's going to be a interesting thing to watch as it unfolds.
Burn.
It's gonna be bad.
I'm telling you though, man, it's wild. The one thing that came out of the pandemic, I think is pandemic. Sorry, I mispronounced that. But
I stuttered there.
Yeah. But one thing that came out is a lot of people are able to work remotely now. So you're starting to see this. People moving out of these major metropolitan areas. You don't need to live there anymore to make a living. You can kind of pick your state where you want to live and the way you want to live and still work and get paid all right.
We had a previous guest that came on and was like, God's building an army in North Idaho. And I can't get that out of my head since I've heard it. And
keep it there because it's true.
It's true. And I'm like, we're attracting people like you. Tons of retired cops. This is the highest density of retired first responders and veterans anywhere in the U.S. I just keep saying that. I'm pretty sure it's true. But find me somewhere that has.
You've learned anything from mainstream media? We keep saying it, dude. It's true.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Now when you Google it, I'm like, oh yeah, this guy said it years ago. And I don't know what that means. I don't know where it goes. But it gives me comfort living here because I always say, like, if the world or the U.S. starts to burn, we're in the perfect spot for that. And there's going to be a lot of people that get together up here and do what needs to be done.
Yeah.
Whatever that is.
Well, it falls down to community 100%. As well. And
Yep.
I think that's what a lot of folks that are coming up here are seeing, understanding that you don't need to get at a federal level in voting and all that stuff. It starts in your county. That's where it's at. It's at the county levels. And if folks aren't involved with it, then shame on you.
Yeah.
Right.
You have the right, you have the privilege to be able to vote and be a part of what actually goes on in your county. There's a lot of people that are my neighbor actually, he's running like the voter integrity stuff for our county.
Ooh,
and
good.
I get my beef from him.
Yeah.
So that's a great connection and contact, but he's really fired me up on being active in my community. Not a lot of the Idaho is a retirement zone for military first responders and alpha pipe hitting, meat eating men to come to. But I have noticed, and I felt this way coming up here. God told me to come up. I wasn't really sure. I was ready to dig my own trench and just get in it and build my own little kingdom and not really hide, but hide. Hide from everything else and just run my own thing. And that's what I think a lot of guys kind of come up here with, that initial vision or thought to do. But there's so much more that can be done, because a lot of guys leave their communities and their jobs with this identity. Like, I had a trident on my chest and I was in the Navy for 20 years and that was my identity. Before I got saved, before my identity was in Christ, that was it. And I know so many guys that don't have that faith or that foundation. They get out, they lose their identity. They, by default, dig themselves a hole and self-medicate themselves deeper and deeper.
100%.
Lose purpose.
Can we
task and purpose?
Yeah.
And that's one of the biggest things I've noticed about, like, as I'm pushing into my community, helping my local law enforcement, trying to help out with all the churches to help the community, help those that are in need, the least of these. And it's given me task. It's given my family task.
Man, you hit on something that we talk about on here a fair amount, and it's awesome. A lot of the folks that come up here say, "Hey, I want 50 acres and I want to see nobody." Right?
That's so much work.
Yes,
I'm on 10 and I'm like,
But I remind them, when you come out and you're starting to immerse yourself in the community and you're going to restaurants, and you're going to coffee, talk to people. Yeah. Because you may not want to be as far away from everybody as you think. Because when you get into a community where all of a sudden some of those values, you're sharing some of those values, and like your neighbor encouraging you to take your vote seriously and pay attention to local politics.
Study it.
Yes, that's what I encourage people to do here. Please come here and pay attention to what's going on locally in politics, so it doesn't turn into where you came from.
Exactly.
And the people here aren't the people where you came from. There's good people here. Yeah. So you're like you're a good example of that, where it's like, I just want I just want to dig this. I want to be here by myself with my family, and that's it. Then you get out in the community a little bit and you're like, wait a minute. there's some decent people out here. This is worth
good
it.
People. Yeah. We've got 6 kids. Our 7th is on the way.
Nice.
And we've started pushing farther into our community with co-ops and working with multiple churches and the sheriff's department.
What county are you in?
Bonner.
Or
Boundary.
Okay.
Boundary.
You're in Boundary. Okay.
Yeah.
Figured you're right on the border there, probably between the two.
We are definitely on the border, and you kind of feel that weird, I don't know, county lines, man. God claims dirt, and there's lines in it, and getting further south I come, I feel a little bit more. I step into Washington, and it's like, I feel this hedge of evil.
Yes.
It's legitimate. But no, with the community and my wife and all of our kids, there's a lot to do because everybody up here is like-minded.
Yeah.
And they want to take their kids out and they want to fellowship. They want to break bread. It's just a lot of people just don't know how.
Right.
And that's kind of been a big thing with both the ministries that I've been running since I came up here. Started off, retired out of the SEAL teams in 2020, moved up here, had our dream home in San Diego up on a mountaintop. We had 20 acres. My neighbor had 20 acres. I went to Afghanistan and ran a VSP site with him in a platoon for 9-month deployment. He was my next door neighbor. Dream home, overlooked the ocean.
Wild.
God said sell it.
Wild.
And I bought an RV. And we did our last year and some change in the Navy, living in an RV during COVID.
Wow.
On the beach.
What's your?
It was amazing.
with at least 4 kids, 5 kids.
We had 5 at that time.
Wild, bro.
Can you run through your professional career briefly so people understand your background?
I joined the Navy with a rap sheet, ASVAB lower than most could, lower than Forrest Gump, I would say, and then color deficiency or color blindness. So joined the Navy. Went undesignated, so the lowest you could go.
Undesignated seaman, yep.
Yep, undesignated, and I ended up going bosun mate, and that's where I was because I needed it. I joined the military to get out of what I was involved with, and that was everything bad. So I was like, I'm gonna either OD, die somehow, or wind up in jail, prison, or something.
Where were you from originally?
Austin, Texas.
Okay.
I watched it. I watched it get weirder.
Yeah.
I keep Austin weird, right?
Yeah.
It got weirder. Not for their benefit at all. Or Texas. Texas has,
We're getting people moving from Texas.
Which says
a lot of cops lateraling from Texas.
Interesting.
Which is wild.
That says something right there. When the cops start leaving because they can't do the job they want to do,
right?
You're like, all right, that's a clue. Something bad's about to go down.
Yep, facts.
Yeah.
I joined the Navy and knew that I just couldn't do anything cool, nor did I want to. I was just looking to get out of what I was doing, make myself better, and just separate myself. And then I saw some team guys and some boat guys on one of my deployments. I was like, what's that? Yeah, just completely oblivious to anything and everything. I didn't care. And I'm like, what are those guys doing? They own the place. They're just riding our boats and eating food and doing whatever they want.
Are those beards?
Yeah. I was like, okay. What? So I just started investigating on that. And I ended up somehow, divine intervention, got me my orders to BUDS, which is basic underwater demolition SEAL training. And right before I shipped off to BUDS, I got in with the dive locker. So I was hanging out with divers, Navy divers, and we went snowboarding for a cold weather trip to prepare me for my BUDS experience. And I ended up destroying my shoulder on a jump. Ripped it out of socket, quit working out. Best shape of my life, going on that snowboard trip, prepping myself for BUDS, and then I destroy myself. And I was like, well, whatever. Gets me out of where I'm at here, puts me in another duty station. I know I'm not going to make it through BUDS with this. So started smoking again and drinking and just having a good time with the boys. Shipped out the BUDS, like, well, I'll see how far I can make it. I'm now curious what can happen. And through God's glory, I ended up making it through that BUDS class. Almost first time every time with all evolutions and no rolls. So looking at percentages for BUDS, I mean, there was, I think, 20 of us that went through day one and finished on the last day.
Out of how many?
About 60. There was about 60 of us that graduated.
What year was that you went through?
I think late 05,
okay.
06, early 06. I ended up getting orders at Team 5 in 06.
Okay.
So there was plenty of things along the way that should have, pushed me out and stuff. Like day 1, 2, instructors knew my name because I'm now out of shape and I'm losing my breath.
That's dangerous, right?
Very dangerous. They knew my name. Like, well, it's only a matter of time now. But whatever, till they drop me. But I'm kind of having fun.
Yeah.
But I kept pushing, and I was getting stronger, quit smoking, obviously, and drinking. So I just kind of focused on the next day, the next meal. And that's kind of
that's the whole mantra there, isn't it? Right?
That's the secret under the rock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Meal to meal.
Yeah.
Right.
And just do that. So I just focused all my motivation on eating, and I did what I could there. And then I just got stronger through it, and made it through all of it first try.
Wild.
That was wild.
It wasn't me. He dumbed me down. The Lord dumbed me down enough to not care about what my body was going through.
Were you religious at that moment?
Not even close.
So you just being guided and didn't even know it.
He doesn't waste anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at my testimony, my life from here, and seeing everything with hindsight being 2020. And some folks came to my house when I lived in Ohio and selling Bibles and stuff like that. My mom's super chatty and gets along well with everybody. She's invited them in for coffee, and this is great. Oh, how you guys doing? And I sat in and listened. And she had told me after I got saved that, Neil, you professed Christ as your Savior that day that they came over. I'm like, I just blacked out on that part, I guess. And that's where that's where the world comes in and just clouds and fogs your memory in certain areas like that, because I had absolute zero recollection of that. So I look back at it with just all the stuff in my career that, I shouldn't be here for.
Right.
I'm like, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, there is a task. There is a purpose that Yahweh has for his people. And I see that now. Where we're at and what we're doing, and everywhere I go is a mission set. Everything he has me doing, I'm thinking of his kingdom first and his growth, and I pray for hearing his voice on a regular basis.
What would you tell a kid right now if they were looking at that and saying the special forces is a goal for them and they want to do what you did?
Be a warrior priest and hear the shepherd's voice. Pray fervently. Listen to his voice to the point, like, find yourself into solitude, not isolation, solitude, to be able to just quiet everything.
What's the difference? Solitude and isolation.
Isolation, I seek to be away from everybody, digging that hole, self-medicating, isolating. I'm isolating. I had a bad enough day yesterday where I was debating on calling and canceling. That would be isolation.
Okay.
And I know this for anything public speaking, any type of podcast where it's like, I've got a great excuse. I'm like, no, negative. That is the enemy working to destroy his tool. And I'm a tool. I'm a tool for the kingdom, and I know that. And so I just got to push hard. I have to use what I was trained and built to do. Like, okay, that scares me. I have to push.
Right.
I have to push. I have to push. I have to advance the line. And so I'm putting all that other stuff to the side, and I charge the gates of hell instead of barricading myself in a church. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. We saw that in COVID.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Everybody shut the doors and barricaded themselves and just got in their little isolated areas. Well, we can do it online. And look at what happened to our communities.
And our kids, yeah.
Bro.
It blew my mind the scariest part of that to me was how easily manipulated we are when we're isolated.
It was a great social experiment.
Yes.
I learned so much through that.
Oh, man.
Right.
I learned a lot about myself, and it wasn't all good, right? Some of it.
Oh, yeah.
Some of it was like,
dark.
yeah, and disappointed in myself of not recognizing it, not being brave enough to necessarily stand up and take a side right away.
Yep.
But I can tell you that will never happen again.
Right.
And that's the lesson I took from it.
Yeah. Well, to be able to see it at a farther distance and better calculate and prepare for defense.
That's when I began to wake up. I don't want to say woke, right? That's
that's a bad word.
I hate that that's a bad word. That's just a word, right? Well, it's like constitutionalist. I was like, that's not a bad word. I'm a constitutionalist.
Dude, you leave Idaho and militia's a bad word.
Yes.
Borderline arrested. It's like, you're running a militia in Idaho. I'm like, cool. Yeah. Cool you see it that way.
It's in the Constitution.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You want to come train?
Yeah, but I mean, no, like that's when I begin to wake up. And it's hard because your whole entire the way I look at it now is everything we've ever been taught pretty much is inaccurate and maybe a downright lie. And I'm like, man, it's hard to accept that.
Yeah.
And I'm still struggling with it. The more I learn, I'm like, oh, well, that doesn't make sense.
That's pride.
Yeah. Okay.
And we all hold it. We all have a level of pride, and that's what I've learned in my salvation is being able to check that pride, knowing that I'm putting myself above and beyond what God created me to do, and His sovereignty. He's sovereign over all. And when I don't handle my pride, I see that wake of destruction, and it starts with my family typically, and then carries on next level. So I'm on a constant prayer battle on checking my pride.
Mm-hmm. That's got to be tough. I mean, with background, anyways, there's a certain amount. I don't know if you get through. I think it would take a tremendous amount of self pride and belief to get through buds. Right, or just that portion, and there is a lot. I mean, that is an elite war. That's an elite unit. I mean, it's looked at differently. I was in the Navy. I was on subs, so you see those. I mean, those teams are different. It'd be really easy to fall into that.
Oh man, and SDV is weird too.
Wait, what's that?
SDV, the guys that ride. Oh
yeah. Yep.
They're a whole new branch.
You didn't do any of that? No sub deployment stuff.
I'm 6'5".
Oh yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, no goal for that. Huh?
It was the running joke of me getting orders to SDV. It's like, oh Neil, hope you get SDV. You'll love it. It'll be great.
Yeah.
Again, I'm still completely ignorant of the SEAL teams. I'm like, well, okay, well, cool. I look forward to it then.
No, you don't. You don't.
No, yeah.
I'm 5'8", bro. I can do jump jacks on a submarine. I'm good. I'm solid. But yeah,
love it.
For that, I mean, it's an elite unit, and it's really hard, and it's probably part of that self-identifying that you were talking about, right? Where you identify yourself in that role, and that's a really easy one to where that takes your whole world, right?
It is. To the point, when I met my wife, I told her she's number 2 to the Trident.
Wow. Dang. She's still stuck with you.
That's not even the tip of the spear with that one. It's my wife still being with me and the fact that we have the relationship we have with the kids, where we're living, the ministry we're doing, nothing short of God's grace and glory and all of it. And I can't give it to anything else because she had papers ready for me when I came back from Afghanistan.
Really?
I was on my way to dev group and pushing up and higher. And she was like, cool, good luck. I wish you the best.
Right.
Here you go.
Yeah.
Because that lifestyle, I mean, you're constantly
gone.
Training, deployment, whatever. Yeah. How many deployments did you do?
Did 4.
Yeah.
Well, that would have been complete if you went to, because I assume you were going to dev crew from your unit, right?
Yeah, I was screening for their process, their program for vetting the S&T,
which is like a whole nother level, of commitment and time.
It's another buds, SQT kind of thing.
Does anybody stay married in that?
Or I don't know. Yeah. Right. I don't know. And for me, I was blessed in my career where, blessed in SOF, you're blessed to get combat deployments. Right. So all of mine were, and then I got the breaks where I needed to really focus on my wife, and then we started having kids, and I was blessed to get some training tours as well.
I can't imagine on a woman, especially a woman with children, young children. It was hard enough for my wife, probably the same for yours, when I'm working graveyards as a cop.
Yeah.
but I'm home every day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You guys got it.
You're just not even there. It's like, that's insanely difficult for them.
It's different. I would say the difficulty is probably the same, because my hat's off to you guys in your ability or need to be that light switch, to have that tree in front of your house where you hang up that baggage from the day.
Yeah.
As you're bringing it home every day. I can actually compartmentalize. This is training. This is deployment. I've got time to prep my mind, documents, wills, and all that stuff. I can prep my family for that and then go, and then we fall in a different routine, and then I prep myself for coming home and get into that box. So
that's a good point.
It's same but different. It's different at a tier 1 level where you're on call for a lot of time before you actually do your deployment. But for where I was at SEAL Team 5 and 1, we had a very structured block on, we're doing this, then we're doing this, then we're doing this. Yes, the call could come at any time, but the likeliness wasn't really there. So you could schedule things, but hats off to you guys for being able to handle that on a day-to-day basis, because you do not know what you're getting into when you wake up in the morning.
That is the tricky part, is that 99% of the time you have to be a normal, nice person when you're dealing with, you stopping a soccer mom or whatever on the street. Yeah. You just don't know when it's gonna flip, and that is the hard part, I think, for a lot of people.
Yeah, you got to be ready for that, and at the same time, remember that if you're stopping that person, it just happens to be for speed, and she's late dropping off the kids. Yeah. That is that person's single reaction with law enforcement. The average interaction happens for a typical law-abiding citizen once every 7 years. So she's going to base her entire interpretation of law enforcement based on your interaction.
That one stop.
And if you treat her like shit and you're an a-hole, or it's browbeating or whatever that is, I used to remind mine, tell them why you stopped them, why it's could threaten her getting home safely, why you want her to get her home safely, make her laugh, and then send her on about her business, right? And then go look for something else.
Yeah.
Look for the other ones.
That is why I preferred graveyards most of the time, is
kind of know what you're getting.
Higher
At
percentage.
2 a.m., there's nothing good going on at 2 a.m., right? Like,
soccer mom will be out dropping.
Yeah. I can be a certain way.
Yeah.
Right. Could be.
This Sienna is awesome. It handles like a car.
A little Carlo Rousey.
Yeah.
What, when in your career, was it during your career when you found God?
Yeah.
And why?
About halfway through. I made it through the pipeline, got orders to SEAL Team 5, and then did like 6 straight years there. And that's when I was on my way to a tier dev group. And I ended up coming back, and that's when my wife, I said, was ready to just call it, because I was already went through the screening process. I got approved, talking to guys over at the command that were, looking to help me out and just kind of mentor me through that pipeline and process. And I don't know what it was. I do know what it was, but at the time I was just completely lost. And I sat down with my command master chief, who was a dev group guy for his career, and well known in the community, very respected. And he was at our site in Afghanistan. He sat down with me, and he looked at me, because I told him, I was like, I don't know what to do. I've got my wife, and I want a wife, I want a family, but this is where I'm at. And she'd already told me on the phone when I called her, she's like, good luck, I'm not going with you. So at that point, it's like, okay, I think I know what the next step is. So now I have to choose my bride or the job. And I know the job will leave me at some point. So I sat him down and just like, dude, what's up? What do I do? And he just took his hat off, and he's like, Neil, I'm on multiple marriages. My kids won't talk to me. My son is in prison doing a life sentence. And so understand that this job will come and go. There's like a poem that the teams have about the job being a mistress, and how she'll always be looking and seeking a younger man. It's like, it melted, and it hit me. I was like, I have to cancel my orders. And he's like, okay. And it was hard, but it was just that fluid, that smooth. And a lot of guys lost a lot of respect for me. Coming back to the team, I lost orders to go do another pump at Team 5, and I ended up getting placed in the diving cell at the training unit, which is the less nobody wants that job.
Right. That's it's interesting though. But look who was there, because I remind them, because I was Navy for 9.5. I'm still reserves, but then I've got like law enforcement. So anytime you have a new sailor, you have a new officer, I always try to remind them, and I still teach officer safety and survival at the academy. And what's that class all about, though, right? It's like die in a hail of gunfire. How do you win the fight? How do you do this? How do you do this? How about how do you survive the job?
Yeah,
and
longevity.
Yeah. How about take care of the people that are going to be there the day after you retire?
Yeah.
Because the second you do,
yeah,
your numbers rolled over and recycled. I left the PD in April. My numbers recycled, right? So there were guys fighting for my positions. You know, they wanted to be the drug task force, right? So you just have to realize that the big wheel has to keep moving. I'm not mad at it. I'm not.
Can't.
You're like, just like yours. You understand that the team's got to keep on keeping on, and they're going to replace you.
It's all about next generation, and that applies to everything in life.
Yes,
I mean that's our pride right there, right? Where nobody can do this as good as I can do.
Yes,
I'm irreplaceable. But the second I got out too, like I talked to 5 guys out of the hundreds and hundreds that I knew,
right,
on that department. No, I mean you're gone, you're forgotten.
Yep.
Which is I think a really hard thing for a lot of people. That's I think what drives a lot of guys down a dark road.
It's that identity crisis. And that's exactly what it comes down to. That loss of task and purpose, and that identity goes with it. And well, I'll never get that back again.
But I have a tremendous I'll bet that Master Chief has a ton of respect amongst the teams for what he's done on missions. Yeah. I have almost more for him for what he did with you in that conversation.
Right.
Let me provide some perspective and context for you, and then you make your own decision. And then
well, that's exactly what it was.
Yeah, it was like a wave. And it was like...
Because he easily could have steered you any way, right?
Why you want that?
Well, a guy like that you respect the hell out of?
You're still young. You got it.
You might have made the wrong choice.
I know I would have.
Right.
I know that was absolutely the wrong choice.
So that's pretty cool.
And he'll probably never know it, right? He'll probably think back on his career and never think about those moments, but the influence that he had on somebody then, those are powerful. I look back at... like all the different drug busts, all the people I've taken off the street, but the ones I'm most proud of are the ones that I've stayed in contact with, that have stayed clean, changed their life. They still have, those are bigger to me now, right? The times you were able to save somebody, those are bigger.
That's the wisdom that grows with our gray.
That's checks out.
Dang it,
valid. I know.
So there I am, canceling my orders, and now my wife's just like. Now what? Because she was full tilt, ready to, full send on doing her own thing. This is pre-kids. Like, she has avoided us having kids because I was a terrible human being to her. I was a terrible human being to a lot of my new guys. I was horrible, downrange. And so I just, she had every right in the world, plus extra credit to lead me. And she just couldn't find herself to do it. After I came back, and I told her, I choose you. I choose a life with a family and kids. And so there I go, getting orders to the dive cell. And again, no operator wants to be wet. We're sick of it. It just...
So you're not going to come cold plunging with us?
Actually, I did build a cold plunge.
There we go.
You got a little left in you.
I hate it, but... I don't know. Something about me still likes it.
That's fair.
I've got a zip line over my pond right now.
Oh, hell yes.
Yeah. I've got a picture of my kids going down the zip line with snow everywhere, breaking chunks of ice out and zip lining in the water.
All right,
and
that's
then we jump
awesome.
into the sauna.
That's amazing.
I think we put it on our Instagram for Warriors Rise. But it's pretty rad.
That is cool.
So there I am at the dive cell. Luckily, I'm not doing diving, but I'm teaching it, and I'm training all the SEAL teams that come through. On the West Coast through the training detachment cell for diving. We start pushing into R&D and T&E, so research and development and testing, evaluation for a lot of different capabilities within the diving community. And so our dive cell ended up breaking me and a couple other guys off to do this research and development, kind of train in the combat diver scene, but we had kind of carte blanche to do whatever we wanted in the regards of research and development.
That's cool.
And those guys were Christian. And we found ourselves on a once-in-a-lifetime trip. Not many guys get to do the trip that we got to do, just because it's hard, and all the red tape to get to it and execute, or just really complicated. Nobody wants to put the effort into it. But that was a month-long trip to Israel to train with Shayatet.
Wow.
Which is IDF's, SEAL team guys, because their diving's pretty spot on, and they use it. They use it a lot. So I got a month in Israel with a handful of believers that were tickled to death on seeing that area. Mm-hmm. And to date, that was the first trip of my career that I made a conscious decision to not go out partying and steaming and hanging out with the boys, where the opportunity was there every single night with those guys. They wanted to go out and see what the Americans were all about and have a good time. And I declined. I stuck with the guys I came out there with, because they were like, we're going to Jerusalem, we're going to this, we're going to that. We're just like, let's do it. Let's go, man. I'm down.
Yeah.
But there's this deep yearning in me to like really see it and to really remember it and to take heed. And, again, back to hindsight 2020, I'm like, I'm kind of one of those guys. I need to be there. I need to do it. I'm a doer. And so I was out there, I was seeing it, and I was doing it with these guys to see all the places. And we saw them multiple times. And it's funny because our schedule for that month was supposed to be with their students going through the pipeline. So getting beat, getting yelled at.
Oh, boy.
And wet and sandy and just running. And we're like, we all have multiple combat deployments. we put guys through this training. We could probably get more from just watching and maybe we'll go on bag. We'll get subsurface with the guys and just see how they operate and work. We don't need to get kicked in the pants for any of this.
I've done a lot of that.
And then all the reserve guys that were like dedicated to us being there, they're kind of like holding our hands for everything. They're just like, oh, thank you, because we were supposed to do it with you. You're welcome.
Yes.
Like, okay, what do you want to do? We're like, we just need to see some things, and the major pieces in your training, we'll get eyes on those, and we'll just kind of see what shakes out. So we had like 4 days a week to just go travel.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Pretty incredible trip.
With none of the tour guide stuff, it was just like doing our own thing. And I mean, we saw it all twice, some places 3 or 4 times. And I found myself a lot on that trip just choked up and just like quiet and just taking it all in. And it just this overwhelming feeling of like, just seeing that place and being with the guys that I was with to really talk me through. I watched The Passion of the Christ for the first time. It was like, I got to get a better understanding on what's actually happening and where I'm at. Mm-hmm. So I watched Passion for the first time, and things kind of came into perspective a little bit better. So yeah, we did our 30 days there, got more out of that on a work level than we had even dreamed of. But then for my personal, faith was that's where that seed was planted. And so I came back, and at that point, I guess backtrack a little bit, right after I redeployed from Afghanistan, my brother had committed suicide and out of New Mexico, and we got the call because me and my wife kind of started working things out a little bit, and so we decided to take a trip. We're like, well, let's go backpack Europe. We'll get back. We got some time off. Let's do a trip and kind of try and rebuild, rekindle. And we got the call like a week into our trip that my brother, committed suicide. He was on life support. So we called the command, called Red Cross, flew me and Denisa back out to New Mexico. And he had just had a baby. His girlfriend at the time was pregnant. So right before we deployed, we went to go see him, hoping that the baby was born and we could meet him. And again, you do certain things before deployment to really, just in case.
Yeah.
So I wanted to say hi and bye to my brother and meet my nephew. Didn't get to. She was in the hospital waiting for it to happen, but we had to hit the road. So I know that I've got a nephew, 9 months or like fresh out, 9 months old, that is with his mom, who wasn't exactly the best influence. And so, yeah, there we are in Europe. We get the call, come back to New Mexico, meet Landon for the first time. And all my family's there, and we say our goodbyes. We, turn the machines off on my brother. He was on life support. And then we had a ceremony, small family ceremony there, and got to meet Landon. And by the end of that trip, I think we spent like a week there or something, as we were taking Landon back to his mom. And just a very toxic, terrible environment for anybody to live in, let alone a 9-month-old baby that, is my nephew. So without even talking to my wife, we just telepathically figured out a game plan or something. I don't know, but it worked out just as it was supposed to. And we gave Landon's biological mom 3 options. It was, I'm going to call CPS on you every waking day of my life until he is in my custody. You are going to allow me to take him in under my wing, and he'll be my son, or you can bring him with, and we will get you right, healthy, and whole, and we will ensure that Landon has a life worth living with purpose. She chose option 3. So I gave her like an hour to pack up some stuff, rented a truck and a trailer, and drove her to our house. And there we were for the next year.
Wow.
Yeah. And then she agreed that it was smart for us to adopt him. And that's where Navy SEAL Foundation came in to really help us out with that whole thing. There was a lot. Navy SEAL Foundation definitely came in on the top rope and helped us out a whole lot. So we ended up getting him adopted, and with still like doing everything we could to help her out. But the calls from cops, the calls from hospitals, calls from neighbors on her being found on the side of the highway in the bushes because she stole something from her house, hawked it, went and bought some booze or what else, and would just go OD herself. So that is what the life we were living, and she brought that toxicity into our home drastically. So she had issues. She was sick for sure, but it was something we had to take a stand for. So we ended up buying her a ticket and told her, you are not doing anything we're asking you to do. In fact, you're going completely opposite of everything we're trying to help you with. Plenty of things. So we ended up getting her a ticket and got her back to New Mexico, and we have Landon. He's our oldest. He's 13 years old.
Cool.
And he does live fire CQC with me.
That's amazing.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's cool. Heck yeah.
So I tell him, and we told him, yeah, man, you're adopted. We haven't given him the full story on everything yet, but incrementally we're giving him information as he's mature enough to handle it.
It's pretty amazing that there's a family connection, though.
That's a huge blessing.
You're his uncle, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
We share blood, right? But I tell him, me and my wife both tell him, it's like, well, Landon, you're one of the biggest causes of our faith, because it was then 0 to parents, borderline overnight. Yeah. And then my wife, Denisa, she didn't have the best upbringing. Her father died at a young age, and her mom never once told her she loved her. Wow. And it was that in and of itself can pretty much paint the picture of the life that she lived. So she had no idea how to be a parent or a wife, nor did I. So we're learning as we're going. So she started going to what she knew was right, and that was church. And my excuse was, you can go to your church and I'll go to mine. I'm going to the drop zone, and I'm just going to jump on Sundays while you're doing that.
Right.
And that was the plan. So she could start going to church, and as God will have it, it was over for me.
Yeah.
and myself and all the things and all the baggage I carry with me. And I used to have a little tradition that I would do to kind of cope with, loss and struggle and, all the things that come with just, being a warfighter. And I got a K-bar. So when you graduate buds, you're awarded a K-bar. The Marine Corps K-bar, and it has the engraving of a fallen SEAL on it, and that's everybody gets one. And the same guy that talked to me in Afghanistan gave me the K-bar for a good buddy of mine, Jesse Pittman, who died in extortion. So I had that K-bar, but before that K-bar, I would burn myself. I'd get myself a bottle of whatever whiskey that was closest, and I would drink myself stupid while the knife heats, and I'd cook myself to the point I'd bring other guys into it too. It was just sick as I look into it and how we're scarring each other to I don't know, call it an escape or this ritual that operators do because it's hard. And so my chest is just riddled with those scars. And so now we're, Denise is going to church. I'm getting a lot of jumps under my belt, and Landon is our son. Chrissy's now out of the picture, and there I am by the fire hanging out. Had a couple buddies come over, and we hung out and had some beers. And after they left, that's when the whiskey came out and the knife. And there she be cooking nice and hot. And this is post-Israel at this point. And I'm already getting burning convictions and just like, I don't know what's going on. I'm mad a lot. I'm frustrated. I'm just confused. Hence, now my pride's pumping in, looking to just not really know how to react with it other than anger. We're fighting a lot. But she's now got MOPS, mother of preschoolers, out of San Diego. So she's involved with this huge group of ladies that are moms, and she's learning how to be a mom. She's learning how to find her faith again, and she's going to church with a good community that's supporting her, and weirdly enough, been praying for me fervently. Oh yeah, that's why I'm freaking out a lot, because there is a battle raging. I think the enemy liked having me on their side, but it was no match. And so here I am, hammered drunk, got my hot knife and cooking myself, and Denise comes out and says, "Neil, you smell like burnt chicken. Take a shower." Like, right. So I think church is the next day, so she's going to church, but she's just ready for me to come to bed. So I jump in the shower. She jumps in the shower, and we're washing up, and I fell to my knees, and I started weeping in my birthday suit. I was naked as the day I came into the world, and I quit. And then I sobered up. So sobriety overran, and I'm weeping, and I just keep saying, I quit. I quit. And it felt great. And she just started praying over me, and I'm just repeating after her, and I went to church the next day.
What did that feel like? Because you came from a career where you don't quit.
Yeah. It was a sliver of pride that kind of opened the floodgates to being able to shed all that fake masculinity. That's what it was. Mm-hmm. And that's been my walk to this day. How can I de-pride myself more? And how can I understand meekness better? And it's funny because I remember vividly throughout my entire career what meekness meant and how we are to avoid meekness at all costs. So like, okay, I have no idea what that is, but it sounds weak, and I don't want anything to do with it. I'm not that. nor is anybody else that's going to be working under me. I ain't going to have any meekness here. And anybody that has learned that lifestyle of, no meekness couldn't be further from the truth and more wrong, because meekness is strength under control.
I've never heard it described like that.
First page in that book that I gave you. And that's what I read to 8-year-olds. That's what I read to young operators. And that's what I read to men like us. And that word meekness is told biblically that the meek shall inherit the earth. And that word meekness came from Roman soldiers, from the word praeus. And praeus was a word that was given to war horses, because those horses were taken from wild rebellion, a state of wild rebellion, and they were trained. And all these horses needed to be used for something. So like people, some people are, telemarketers, some people are truck drivers, some people are door kickers. Same thing with these horses. The horses that were above the par and performing and well-balanced got put into a selection course to be praised. And those horses were the war trophies to the Romans that would come back from war, and they would be awarded these horses to ride in the next battle. And those horses were known to be called meeked. And that is strength under control of its rider. And if Christ is saying the meek shall inherit the earth, he's saying his chosen people are war horses and he is the rider.
Never heard it described like that.
So in that moment, do you think that is what, did you know at that time that you had a calling to do something like Warriors Rise?
Absolutely not.
No idea.
No, I just jumped off a cliff, man. I'm still in free fall mode.
I
need to arch. I need to arch. I need to control.
Yeah.
I'm potato chipping like crazy, and I'm spinning in circles. I have no idea what's happening.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know. I've got so many questions, Lord. I don't even know what to ask.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do. But I trust that you will guide it. And that's still me waking up every morning today. To date is, please don't put me in control of today.
How did that conversation go when you guys were at your place in San Diego and you said, Lord's calling me somewhere else and we're going to sell? And then the conversation about moving to Idaho.
Incrementally.
Yeah. You didn't drop it all, just did one big.
No, we bought our dream home, right? We're on 20 acres. We're on a mountaintop sharing it with a good buddy of mine. And we've got a shooting range. We've got a great community, a great church, and everything is perfect. And money's dwindling down hard and fast. We kind of overpaid on what we bought. But I had a plan to do specific contract work to supplement after I retired. But probably the second after we closed escrow, we're all moved into our dream home. Kids' handprints in the new cement blocks that we pay for the driveway, all the things. It's just, it made sense. Living the American dream, that was it. That's what we had. But Denise called it Zillow porn, and I couldn't shake. I couldn't get away from Zillow and looking at other places outside of California. I couldn't shake it. And then I did another pump to Iraq, and the seed was kind of planted on, okay, well, after I get out, I get another job, then maybe we'll have enough and we could buy something out of California, and at least we have a cabin or something. I don't know what it is, babe. I can't shake this. There's something that's telling me, and at this point, I'm now learning about ministry. I'm doing Bible studies. We used to do Hatchet House, where we'd get a bunch of guys together in the mornings at 5, work out, read the Bible, talk through it, pray it out, and we go throw tomahawks before everybody left. It was kind of cool. Called it Hatchet House. So she's seeing the ministry that Lord's just leading me in with the guys that I'm meeting, and just the community that's being developed, and that we're getting plugged into. But she knows where I'm at this point. Our relationship has been rekindled, and we are both growing spiritually and as a cleaved unit, you know, as husband and wife. And now we're at like kid 3 at this point. And so the conversation just, it was never like, we're doing this and that's final. It was always like, well, what do you think of this? Well, I just checked this out. So the plan was that we would just homestead where we're at, because we had the perfect opportunity to do it, and we kind of did. And that's what God's character for me and my wife has been, is just the whole crawl, walk, run mentality. It's like, okay, I'm giving you a little bit here because the next step's going to be a little bit bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's how he's been, you know, working with me and Denisa. So we had these plans to get cows and sheep and all this stuff, and then she falls into a YouTube channel with some folks up in Bonners Ferry that's got 12 kids, and she just started watching them. She's like, "Well, what about Bonners Ferry?" I'm like, "Well, what do you mean Bonners Ferry? That's a long ways away to have a cabin." So from that point, we started looking harder into like, well, maybe we do move. I'm like, yeah. Oh yeah? But you love it here. And coming to, you know, modern day, she's like, well, it's not that I wanted to move. I loved it there. That was my home, but God clearly told me to trust and follow you. And I almost started crying when she said that. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. I thought you wanted to do this. She's like, I do, with you. And that's what God has blessed me to do, is to be with you, to be your helpmate, and to help you get through all of this. Like, I want to cry right now because my wife is so amazing. That she is that Proverbs 31 woman. She's amazing. And I love her.
So you guys moved here 5 years ago?
Six now.
Yeah.
2020. That's when I pulled chocks from the Navy. And again, a year before that, that's when we had made the decision. We had made trips out here to kind of recce the area and see what was up. And for me, it was clear God was saying, find a church, I'll find you a home. And so we did. Found a church, and then a month before it was like, cool, well, we ain't got a place, but we got an RV, so let's send it. And we were down for it because we were really enjoying the RV life, and I highly recommend it to anybody. It's very freeing. I miss it, honestly. The proximity of the family. Some people would be like, I need an office, I need a little bit, but that type of proximity with the family is really, it's the fabric of the Dyer tribe, and we do it all together. So it was a huge blessing. So yeah, we started doing all the recce's out here, found a church. We got to Spokane when we flew in the first time. Like, well, it's got a lot of similarities to San Diego. So if we wanted, you know, big cities, you know, and like the mountains are right there, so we can have our separation yet conveniences too. Then we get to Coeur d'Alene, and we're like, Coeur d'Alene all day. This is it. This is the jam. No way is Sandpoint or Bonners going to be better. But we had it scheduled to go to church in Bonners Ferry because that was the church that, you know, kind of got thrown in our lap. And then we get to Sandpoint. It's like, babe, Sandpoint's better. And she's like, I know. Like,
Keeps getting better.
It's definitely Sandpoint. And we just had the understanding that Bonners Ferry was just, you know, I mean, there's not even a light there. There's 2 now up on North Hill, but no way Bonners was going to top anything. Well, maybe we just, you know, live in Sandpoint and go to church in Bonners, but we got to Bonners, realized it's different. It's a lot different, and it's just the people that are there are very, very community centric and very much into everything that we're all about. And it's just like, Roger that, Lord. We're full send to Bonners Ferry. Yeah.
So now you guys got a place that's further out. I mean, it's even further.
So this is a month out before we make the trek to Bonners Ferry. A house popped on the market. The realtor hit us up. It's like, I think this is the spot. From what I know about you guys, what you're talking about, what you're trying to do, I think this is it. We're like, well, only one way to really attack this, and that's spiritually. So we prayed, we fasted, we got some friends to jump in with us as well. And we closed escrow for less than asking 30 days before we moved out. So we didn't see the house, but
wild.
Yeah, I was like, okay, well, I'll make an offer for this because he's already said no to this offer to other people. So I'm going to make the offer, and if it's it, that's it. And it was it.
Dang.
And then I cried, and my wife cried the first time we drove up our road.
Really?
Oh, yeah. It's a goat trail, dude. That's why.
What have we done?
Yeah.
Oh,
that's exactly like, oh, dear Lord, what have you done? Did you not know what you were doing?
Yeah.
Did you not see this road?
You didn't tell me about the road.
Yeah. Well, the realtor, I don't know, solidifying a deal or whatnot, he's like, well, it's definitely a dirt road. There's some steep spots and a couple rocks. Like, no, dude, this is Rubicon Trail. That's what this is. We had a 40-foot Class A RV that we were living in with the expectation we were going to drive it to our house.
Oh, boy.
Maybe we'd make it if we just gassed it going 50 up the whole hill, but it ain't never coming down again.
Very few obstacles you can't overcome with velocity. You know what I mean? You
exactly.
Just send it.
Yeah, talk to G9, man. That ammo does damage.
Yeah.
Safest bullet out there, by the way.
I freaking love them.
So, yeah, there we are, just both crying, like, but we got through it. We figured it out. He opened some doors for us to logistically support what we were doing, and we've been doing ministry out of our home for the last 6 years.
That's awesome.
On the mountain.
Tell me about Warriors Rise.
Warriors Rise. Man, train, equip for those looking to push into austere environments. So what does that look like? How is that defined? Well, we really push for and look into high-risk missionaries, anybody wanting to join the military. But honestly, it falls in the realm for any young man that's looking to take those next steps outside of his father's wing.
That's perfect. Like a rite of passage.
There's quite a bit of that.
I actually
almost like a crucible, right? Like give them an opportunity to really push.
I call it the gauntlet.
Gauntlet, all right, I like that too. Yeah.
But yeah, that's exactly kind of what a lot of guys have.
A lot of young men are looking for that. I had this conversation with my son, 17.
I was.
He's getting ready to graduate high school. He does not want to be in the military, but I told him you were coming on, and I didn't know much about what you're doing at the time. And I was like, is that something you'd be interested in? And he was like, yeah, actually, I think I would. And I was like, oh.
So do you usually do it in groups, or do you just take them? So when I got out, moved to Idaho, wife and I started Warriors Rest. And that was the intro to ministry and the nonprofit world. So some friend of ours ended up making the move with us up to North Idaho, and we ran Warriors Rest for like 4 or 5 years now. And that was to help heroes, rest and find resilience in just what they've done. So we were offering that to, first responders and military, more or less, to help guys mainly with PTS, TBI, and just a dumpster fire of guys that don't know what to do with themselves, that have lost that identity, task, and purpose. Again, back in hindsight, looking at it, I think God had that developed, and that push for me to get into there, because I needed that. I needed to take the knee. I needed to really learn how to quiet my soul and to find grace and love in him and his creation. And that's what we brought for other guys. So we just did sound to silences is what we were doing, and we were doing it in the cabin that's above my house. Completely off grid, no water. We just put solar panels up so we have a light. And it's really just getting out there and just finding peace and solitude. And I needed that more than anything, more than I knew. And it was hard. It was really hard first few years getting into that, but that knee, I really needed that, to take that knee, to take that rest and learn and understand God's character and his push for my life. So about a little over, probably about a year and a half now,
ago is when started getting new drive and focus into the rise aspect of the warrior. So Warriors Rest is still going, still doing stuff, and they're still supporting the ministry within military and first responders for the PTS and the TBI, finding resiliency. Warriors Rise is now more or less my conviction is that meekness, to redefine its true meaning to the warfighter community, and that goes for law enforcement, that goes for all first responders and military. And I'm pushing that hard in all the contracts that I do and everything that I'm doing. So the Rise is, I guess for verbiage sake, it's for next generation, but also the guys that are in it right now to how can I carry the flag for Christ? How can I be a warrior, but I'm supposed to be a nice guy? And I'm trying to kill the nice guy in every man, because niceties are just, that's not a warrior. Being just and being good, that's what and understanding. Those are the kind of key words that I've really learned as a warrior to hold tight to, and that understanding is a big one.
I had that conversation with my son recently about the difference between a good man and a nice guy.
Yeah. Yep.
I think a lot of people don't understand that. I'm still trying to understand that, what that difference is.
Cowardice.
And the good man
stands for what's good,
right.
What's right. The nice guy is just trying not to ruffle feathers,
right.
Or say something that might hurt somebody's feelings.
And there's a big difference between that, being a good man, and then challenging everybody on everything all of the time. You kind of have to have your values, right, established, and then hold to those. And the nice guy, but what do they teach in most public elementary schools now? Be nice. Be nice to each other. Be nice to each other. Be nice to each other.
Yeah.
Right. But that's what it is. I mean, it's almost like. But to me, being blindly nice is weakness. Because what do you stand on? Like, what's
Nothing.
your foundation?
You've got a rubber band spine.
Right. And it happens, and you can see it. In, I've had a few things with my son in sports and stuff like that. It's like, no, dude, you can defend yourself. Like, you can hold to your own convictions, and you can stand up for yourself. Being nice and completely avoiding confrontation is not a path. You just get run over and abused.
That's the downfall of our male society.
Right.
Like,
right.
Well, I got to be a nice guy. It's like, no, don't you dare.
No.
Challenge everything. Trust.
Right.
But verify.
Yeah.
In all things.
I've struggled with that. My dad is the nicest guy you'll ever meet, right?
Yeah.
So that's where I came from. And I had to remove myself a little bit from that at a young age. But I've struggled even finding what my values are. I've always had good morals.
Right.
But I'm 45 and I'm still figuring it out.
Yeah.
And it's almost embarrassing for me to admit that, because I see some guys that I respect and I'm like, guy knows where he stands.
Yeah.
I'm still figuring this shit out.
Sometimes I've done that too, where it's, all right, am I fighting just for the sake of fighting?
Right.
Or no, I got to have some
ego?
principles and some, like, there's got to be something behind this. That way it just doesn't seem like I'm being an a-hole to be an a-hole. Otherwise, when I'm actually holding my ground, it will have more value and weight if I'm not doing it just for the sake of doing it. Does that make sense? Like,
having that understanding on channelizing that.
Right.
Because that's the way he created warfighters and men in general, to be protectors, to be providers, to stand up against the snake in the garden. Well, it's in our nature to cower down in some cases. But if you're able to channelize the way God created you to be, and that's to stand up for what is right, stand up against evil and wrong, there has to be an understanding in that. So when I'm trying to pick a fight with my wife, I don't know why, because I've had a bad day and she says something that I want to fly off the handle for, and then she gets defensive, and now we're on rinse, repeat cycle on the washer. But being able to channelize that, it's like, I could get into a fight with you right now. That's easy. But where and how should I channelize that frustration to put it to where he created me to do? Like the LGBT thing that's going on in Schweitzer. Mm-hmm. We should channelize not hate, but that frustration and that knowledge and understanding what is good, what is right, what is wrong, what is evil. I'm not saying I'm going to go burn down anything.
Right.
Not doing that, but how can we channelize? How can we be what God created us to be by doing the right thing with that same posture as a warrior? And I had this conversation. I just got back from out of town, doing a contract, training some soft guys, and one of the instructors out of MARSOC. And we just talked about it for 2 weeks. This same stuff, that same book of what meekness is. And he's got faith, and he's learning about his relationship with Christ, but I don't think he was fully able to really put the warrior and Christ together. And that's what I see as a big problem in the church, because the church is full of nice guys. That's why I steered so clear of the church and my faith. Mm-hmm. That I didn't have, but I didn't want anything to do with it because it's just full of a bunch of skinny jean wearing, satchel having nice guys.
Right.
I don't want to be a nice guy.
Right.
I don't. Nice is fine, I guess, if you're in a social setting and trying to socialize with people, but as a warfighter, I have no palate for that.
Right.
And I would challenge Christians in my platoons. I would challenge them that they could not do what needed to get done downrange. And I would terrorize them and prove to them that they weren't strong enough. I'll answer for that.
Yeah, but I think...
I will answer that for that in the next life. And I'm not trying to say that my work here will, credit me that, but... my conviction now through the walk that he's given me, like we've all got our own walks, is that I really truly learned the difference between a warrior priest and a pagan warrior. And they fight for their own glory. Mm-hmm. They fight for their own flesh. And I don't do that. And I've learned by my obedience in my faith to fight for the kingdom of light. And that fight looks different every day.
Yeah, especially now.
Do you feel like there's a war raging between good and evil right now? It seems so apparent to me. In
Ephesians 6,
in everything we see out there in the media.
The armor of God in Ephesians, like it's not about flesh and blood, but of principalities and spiritual entities. Mm-hmm. That is the main war that's raging around us constantly. And the default is the 3D world that we're living in right now. Evil is pushing people to do bad and evil things. I feel like it's the default. Mm-hmm. We can attack it like, just one person to another. It's like, oh, you're doing something wrong, bang, or I'll handle that right now. That's just the default to it. So unless you've got prayer warriors on your six covering you, so you can go into things. More stories than I can shake a stick at on all these missionaries that have been coming up doing our Sound of Silences with Warriors Rest, talking about like how they saw like 15-foot tall angels on fire with flaming swords walking in front of them in villages in Africa. Nobody else saw it. Maybe one of them in the ministry, in the missionary, that's like, we go through this village, we have to, but we're going to die. And then boom. And then everybody in that village that was ready to kill them is just like terrified.
Damn.
Wild. I feel like the evil is in the distraction.
Facts. And the comfort.
That's a subtle way of doing it, right?
Yeah.
That's a subtle way of doing it.
Yeah, but everything is it. Like literally this, AirPods, cell phones, everything is the
AI.
Distraction. Yeah, oh yeah.
Bro.
That's a totally
we just had
different.
a scary conversation about that yesterday with the guy.
I bet. I'm probably tracking what you're thinking. Or yeah.
Well, this guy's like in that industry. Like he was coding when he was 12, and then AI's kind of but he's getting heavy. He understands it, like sees the big picture, and he's scary.
He's like us. So,
yes.
AI is the downfall of humanity,
and he knows it. Yeah, and it's
convenient now and great. Wait,
right, and I don't think it'll be that long.
No.
So when folks come out there for Warriors Rise, how long is that usually? I mean, do you have does it depend on the group, or how does that work?
I'm very fluid with the way I execute training. Mm-hmm. So a lot of guys would like something that they want to focus on. But what we have on our website and what we're offering, we're trying to narrow it down to like the hard foundational threes.
Yeah.
Because I was doing pilot courses for the last 3 years, just kind of developing and seeing what's good, what sticks. So the things that we offer on the website is and I'll kind of base it in order. Excuse me. The intro. My wife, in her infinite wisdom, said that I should build a no course at our house. So I did. We got the obstacle course built around our home, and we do the intro, which is the introduction to Warriors Rise, where we have young kids come out and then up to like, teenagers and stuff like that. And we do different heats of these groups of kids that run the obstacle course. So we start at the bottom of the mountain. We do a Bible study. I have them hike the mountain, and I give them very specific instructions on what they can and cannot do on this hike to our house. I give them an introduction to the obstacle course on how to run the obstacles and left and right limitations, rules, and all that stuff. And we do another quick Bible study at the end of it once we run all of our heats, and then we give a plaque to the winner of each heat, and then we break a bunch of bread, and then it's like free reign. We got the sauna, we got our pond, the zip line, and the O course that you can run around on the whole time. So that's intro, and that's for a bunch of ages to be an introduction to what we do at Warriors Rise. Next, we have 2-day nights, which is a weekend kind of gig, and we're doing our best, and I think this next season will be very fluid and structured in our execution. But the concept with 2-day nights is one a month, year-round, snow or not, and we do a more or less rules for a warrior priest, and it kind of based in it around knighthood and training for real-world stuff. So just for an example, guys would show up on, Friday, and then we jump into some dinner, and then we get into some sort of study. Saturday morning pops. Now I'm teaching skill sets. I want to make a night in 2 days, but I know I can't, so we'll do it periodically throughout the year. So each, I think we're going to probably do like 4 specific 2-day nights and just put them on repeat throughout the whole year. So we got a quarter per training evolution. Things that we cover would be rope work, so rappelling and climbing, butchering, shooting, close arms conflicts of things. We've the chaplain at G9 is an unbelievable chaplain. He comes over and teaches knife fighting.
Is that Ron?
I know Ron. He's a gem. I love that man. We do home defense. So USCCA instructor for CCW and the home invasion stuff. So we've got a great facility out of Bonners Ferry called Boulder Creek. Started off as Boulder Creek Retreat. It's now a training facility, and gave us kind of an open welcome to be able to do whatever training we want to. We've been training a lot of law enforcement there. We're doing TCCC type stuff with the medical. We're doing all sorts of austere kind of training for multiple entities. But we're using Boulder Creek to like vehicle recovery stuff. So I've got a Humvee, 4-wheeler, dirt bike, trucks, manual transmissions, things like that. And we'll do like that 2-day nights will be a overland experience with recoveries and traversing and driving and stuff like that. But we try and cover skill sets that men should know, to include construction, to include butchering, to include, some respite. So we'll typically get it hard on Tuesday or on Saturday, just hit it hard and kind of minimal sleep, but just because we're trying to do stuff. Night navigation, I'll bust out nods and thermals and let guys run around. We'll set up the fire watch and teach them about that kind of stuff. But old school kind of warrior stuff in the modern day.
Cool.
Do you have options for adults too?
We could absolutely do that. There's no reason we can't. But what we're trying to advertise on the website is, so the intro, the 2-day K, and then the gauntlet. And the gauntlet is more or less for those young men that are ready to really test themselves. And we could plug gauntlet before or after the 2-day nights. But my vision for it is intro for a young man. If I get somebody that's like 10, 12 years old, they get introduced to the intro. Then they start attending the 2-day nights. And then before they go off and leave the area or go and start, walking their own life in life, we do a gauntlet and we send them off on that real testament of, I did it. Mm-hmm. Kind of like that rite of passage.
Yeah. How long's that one?
24 hours.
Nice. Cool.
Full tilt. It typically turns into 30-something.
Yeah.
But that's a gauntlet for even the instructors that are there, because we're up the whole time.
Oh, yeah.
Just moving. And that's just going distances, doing hard things. And I base the gauntlet kind of on Hell Week.
Yeah.
Not a week of it, but condensed a little bit, but to really bring those alpha evolutions up and use those, and chainsaw work, how to run a chainsaw, how to fell a tree. And, typically, well, I don't want to spoil it.
Yeah. Good.
It's really
but
cool.
chainsaw work.
I'll include the website link in the show notes so people can check that out. I'm definitely going to check it out.
Yeah, same.
Like I said, my boys,
Well, there's
young men are aching for this.
I know a kid.
I agree.
know a kid that could use that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've been trying to get in with the recruiter's office, and the NSW, Naval Special Warfare, has a mentorship program for anybody that's trying to go Navy SOF. So I'm in touch with him, and he's kind of rallying all these guys that are trying to go, diver, EOD, SEAL SWIC, SARC, and he'll be kind of funneling those guys as we get the evolutions going, but really trying to push out into churches as well, which pushes into this relationship that I've developed last summer with Cliff Graham. So he's the author of Lion of War series of books. It's what did he say it? It's biblical fiction is his writings, and it's about David and his mighty men. And I learned about the book from a buddy, and I started playing it on Audible, and the narration on the Audible is perfect. Sometimes I just get on a book and it's like, it's just the wrong person talking.
Right.
This one's perfect. It fits the bill. Every time I listen to it, my boys are sword fighting. And it's just, he's a fantastic story writer. He's exceptional journalist. So everything he's got is biblically based and authentically proven through history. And he puts it in the story format about David and his mighty men.
What's his name again?
Cliff Graham. He came out last summer, brought his whole family. I put his boys through the gauntlet. They've been missionaries their entire lives. That's what they do. That's what the Grahams do. They've been all over the world, and they've done plenty of training things for churches and stuff like that. And his boys have yet to be baptized. They're just like, well, it just hasn't fit. And I mean, we love the Lord. And baptism doesn't, solidify your faith or salvation or anything like that. It's a testament to, the public to say, I am carrying the cross, or I'm carrying the flag for Christ. They got baptized after the gauntlet at my house.
That's cool.
It was a shot across the bow for not only Cliff, but myself, and what we're doing is like, wow, that means something. That's huge. That this was the place for that. And so Cliff and I have been on the phone a lot. We've been talking. We have developed a solid relationship in locking shields for both of our ministries to push into all of these endeavors. He's developing right now a program, Psalm and Sword, so very similar to the 2-day nights and the gauntlet and stuff like that. We're formulating it right now, and we'll probably be executing on that this summer sometime. But he told me not to talk too much about it.
Okay,
I probably divulged too much. But the plan is in the works for something pretty amazing for exactly what you guys said, kids and young men as well that need it. So I'm not putting an age on it. Maybe we'll have 3 weeks straight of it, where this week is for the younger men. This one's for, the guys that are just about to go out the door and, leave their homes, and maybe got one for guys like us, because there's something in it for everybody. Mm-hmm. And we tend to lose within this comfort crisis that ability and that time to really test ourselves. But when we continue to put ourselves through harder things, just it rebuilds and revitalizes, I think, us as men.
The more convenient the world gets, the harder it is to test yourself.
Oh, I hate convenience.
I know.
Now we have to seek it out, right?
Yeah, you got to go find it.
Intentionally find it because it's too easy.
Yeah, you got to go pay somebody badass to do it for you. But that's the job.
I'll pay you to beat my ass. Yeah.
Yes, literally.
Nope, let me spread my legs right there.
Yes. Yep. 100%. That's awesome.
Can we talk about Yeager Defense a little bit?
Yeah. Love that stuff. Yeager Defense, Idaho-based company that makes suppressors.
Does this say made in Idaho on them?
It will.
Because
You don't need a tax stamp.
you don't need a tax. Well, you don't need them anymore. Well, you still need a tax stamp. You're just going to pay it.
I discussed it with him about that, and that falls into a weird category as if I wanted to buy a solvent trap and put it on my rifle.
Right.
That's where it falls into.
Yeah.
Not so much for a FFL SOT card holder of weapons manufacturing and class 3 items. You still need to do a tax stamp for it. But at this point, you're not paying anything for tax stamps. So
I'm not opposed to them. I've already got a few, so I'm like,
exactly.
whatever.
And weirdly enough, we're in the system already. We have a social security number.
Exactly. Yeah.
Sorry, everybody.
So there's no Yeager solvent traps, is what you're saying. So those are not
correct.
Got it.
No, so I took one of the cans and the demo gun to this last trip I was training on, and did a side-by-side comparison with the guys that are going downrange, and they're running 10.5s with a Knight's Armament can, and I put them side by side, and I mean the beauty of this can is its decibel reduction rate and its lack of blowback and its size. So it's a K-baffle can. It literally makes the gun 1.5 inches longer than its original length.
Wow.
Yeah. So the can itself is like 3 inches and some change. And it comes with a flash suppressor that they've done unbelievable work on to make that flash. I mean, it beats anything on the market from what I've seen, and it's a lot smaller. The flash suppressor is like that big, 2.5 inches, 6 inches. Sorry.
That checked out. Checked out 100%. Yeah.
That's the flash.
Yeah.
And then the can goes over that, and for its size and what it's performing at, I haven't seen anything out there that does what it does.
And it's made in Idaho.
Stop costing me
where are they
money.
Located? Are they up north in Bonners?
Naples.
Oh,
Yeah.
no
Really?
kidding.
Yeah, buddy.
We got to get them. So they have a small business out there. Could we go check that out?
Nothing developed right now.
Yeah.
It's like all online sales. So they're just starting. They just got some machines. So the production is being made right now for distribution. I think we're working at like 10 a week right now. So
cool.
Right now it's getting the product out there, getting the name advertised, working the marketing aspect of it.
If you need some testers.
Yeah, I know a guy who
got
runs
you.
down.
Got you.
Yeah.
Well, he's got an MG42 as well. So that's always cool to maybe get some content on.
Yes.
Can he make one for a Gen 12? That would be.
Oh, that'll be the next step.
So we're starting with that 5.56
Yeah.
and getting a few of these out there, build a little revenue so that we can start pushing into the 30 caliber and the longer distance, the bolt gun cans.
Yep.
But it's so small. Like the training I was doing on this trip was a lot of CQC, and so instructors get time to do the house runs and stuff like that. So all the live fire CQC with these guys, it's doing the work.
Yeah, I got to try it.
Okay, I need a professional opinion here. I'm looking to build a short rifle for the house that's quiet. Should I go 300 blackout?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The subsonic, man. Okay. I dropped the bear with 300 blackout.
Okay.
Subsonic.
That says everything.
It's a black bear.
That's cool.
It wasn't that far away, obviously. Again, I was in my pajamas.
Yeah.
You wear pajamas, huh?
Yes. Yeah. And they're great. It's a new chapter in my life, but I love it. So, I mean, 300 blackout, it just does the work. And if it's in your house, you're in a close environment. So you set your sights up for, 15 yards and just get good at the sight acquisition and trigger pull.
Yeah.
Cool.
And you go subsonic. I mean, you're doing the work, and it's got that 30 cal bullet. That's just devastating.
I need it for that, and I need it to shoot coyotes in the field next to my house.
Perfect.
And they're not far away because I got goats and chickens, and I don't want nobody messing with my goats.
Yeah. Right.
And I need my wife to be able to shoot it and be comfortable with it.
Honestly, if you were to get one, I don't know the names of these guns, but the 9mm rifles that are subsonic, and you go G9. G9 is
G9 in there, hell
dude,
yeah.
it's just doing just unbelievable stuff.
That's good to hear your opinion on that because we've checked it out. We've had him on the podcast. My mind was blown.
I've shot gel with it against the gold, or what are they?
Gold dot?
Yeah, gold dots.
Gold dot was my jam for a long time. But
it was the suppliers actually came out because I was out there on SWAT team and we were just shooting rounds, just check them out against gel. So I brought some G9. I was like, can I shoot some of these? And just to see, and it was impressive.
It performed. That's good to know.
What is that?
It was
That's
impressive.
devastating for us.
Yes, it was pretty much that, which was pretty.
But to hear Joshua, explain. And he's obviously way smarter than me, but to hear him explain how it worked, I was like, "Oh,
I love it."
Because everybody sees it and they're like, "Well, it's the spinning motion." I'm like, "No." And then when you described the what's the word? Coming off the curvature, it's like the blood becomes a pressure washer that creates the wound channel
with the flux capacitors.
Yeah,
and all that. I was like, what?
Dude.
I explained it to guys. I'm like, okay, just think a boat propeller, forward propulsion in reverse.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what it's doing to water.
Yeah.
That's what it's doing to soft tissue. Just devastation.
It
Safest
is.
bullet.
Why do you say that?
Because it keeps cops alive.
Yes. Well, that for sure. Yeah. I would have loved to carry that back in the day.
One round, it is the Hollywood round.
Right.
That's the way I see it.
Yeah, that's
one
valid. Checks
shot
out.
wonder for each.
Right.
Because it's not like that in the real world. It's not like that with others.
What do you carry in the
9mm.
woods?
Woodsman.
Okay. What caliber?
9.
Okay.
I've got a 10. So I've got a 10 mil, and
yeah.
I've got a mag for my Glock 19 of Woodsman in my my head compartment in my truck. So my everyday carry is G9 external hollow point in my Glock 19. But if I'm like finding myself just getting out of the truck and walking around, then I just reload into Woodsman. But if I know I'm out in the woods all day, I've got my who makes
Kenai.
it? Kenai, thank
Yes.
you. I got my Kenai holster.
Another local company.
Yeah, buddy.
Same
Gunfighters Inc.
Yep, all about that. And then I've got the 10 mil with the Woodsman.
That's what I've got. Kenai with a 10 mil.
Yeah.
Big old muzzle brake. It just looks Gucci.
Yours
Looks
is
cool.
a fucking cannon, bro.
Yeah,
It's
amazing.
amazing.
Fires out.
Yeah, it's awesome.
But that 10 mil is no joke. Dude.
Yes.
Holy
Oh,
shit.
yeah.
Yes.
Devastating.
Yeah.
What was I going to ask? Question about G9. We were talking about G9. I love that stuff.
I think it's cool that that guy started that company because
Yes.
the manner in which he did it. Because what do you expect when somebody starts, an ammunition manufacturing company? You expect spec war, law enforcement.
That was my question.
The military background, and then you get to talking to him. You're like, wait a minute, this guy came at it from a totally different angle.
Opposite spectrum for sure.
Totally, but it just changed it because he didn't come up in that same path that everybody else takes, where they have to see it. Right? He's just talking about it because he saw the way that bullets were ripping through the exterior of vehicles. And he's like, I think I can do it better than that.
Well, what really pushed him into that was him being put in charge of a church safety team.
Yeah. Wild.
And everybody's just making their own ammo. Like, I'm using this and I'm using that. And he's like, this is terrifying. This is terrible for everybody that's here. Like, no, this is what we're going to use. And that's when he started developing the external hollow point.
Right.
Do our tier 1 units picking
divine?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Our tier 1 units picking that ammo up yet?
They are informed, and they're trying to get into that contract is like a multi-year endeavor. The better luck is with the law enforcement agency, whether it be city, county, state, or federal. They've got less red tape, but at a tier 1 level, man, the testing that has to happen, and then the buy-in from the guys to the buy-in and the approval to the leadership. Then from leadership goes the next level, the next level, the next level. It's just almost
and let's be real,
it's tough. But
there's a layer of bureaucracy too, right?
Every step
where if somebody's getting paid for this contract, like
dude,
it
is cutthroat. I never really understood any of that, and as getting to know Joshua and learn about G9, it's like, oh, that's dirty.
Yeah.
It's dark. And it's just like, it's some nasty stuff. SHOT Show is a cesspool of darkness it just is nasty. So the endeavor and the push is there to get it into tier 1, 2, and 3 entities. Honestly, anybody that'll look at it, because again, it's the safest round out there. It's doing what bullets should have done in the beginning.
I love his mindset too, because he's like he's obviously been approached by other big manufacturers, and he's like, nope.
Not going to
keeping it right here.
Yep.
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
Well, I think he realizes. Well, that round will just end up getting mothballed somewhere, right?
Yeah. Like, It's like, okay, let's hide this.
That's too good.
Yep. And he's got some other really cool
the
stuff.
The rifle rounds. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, we're going to get into that, dude.
Dude.
Super excited. Because we got another guy out in this area that can build a legitimate railgun. So.
Oh yeah.
Oh boy.
Oh, dude, it's cool.
We've got a buddy that he came from Canada actually, and he is brilliant with magnets. Let's put it that way.
Yes.
Opened my eyes to a lot of things.
I need to learn. I need to meet this guy.
Well, we need to get.
He'd probably love to meet you too.
It would be entertaining just to watch him and Joshua together, and then all of us just watch and be like, "Did you catch any of that? I got 2%. I got 2%
we made
of
that connection.
They just fixed all the world's problems.
Yes.
In like 20 seconds.
Well, cheers. Yeah. That's nice.
Everything's done.
Yep.
Well, what's next? So what's next for you? Just keep rolling with what you're going right now. You still do a lot of contract work out?
Yeah, I'm with a contract company right now. There's always guys that are like asking and pinging and trying to get some stuff going. Right now, the contracting is putting food on the table, and I had a big insurance claim on my house just before the summer. So my house is still under construction, and insurance naturally didn't come in with what it's actually worth. So I'm doing it all myself. So definitely ran out of money on that. So I'm picking up contract gigs to kind of cover down on that, make sure the family's good to go. But it's kind of interesting not having myself be in charge of my day, asking the king what's up.
Yep.
He has humbled me quite a bit in a lot of the endeavors that I've been pushing into. He has built a camaraderie with a bunch of guys in this reconstruction of my home. And he's actually been really opening my eyes to a new concept of mentorship for guys. Tool belt to battle belt. Weirdly enough, a young man, 27 years old, prior 11 Bravo Army, a buddy of mine told him about what we were doing up in Idaho. He got my number. We talked. He's living in the cabin as like a Warriors Rise mentor.
Heck yeah.
Cool. Very cool.
I don't think he's ever touched a hammer before, and he shows up expecting to train and, get well-versed in, the operator mindset, and then go downrange for some of the endeavors that we're pushing into also, off-the-air discussion stuff.
Yeah.
So he's not doing any of this. He's living in the cabin, which is hard to just spend 3 days in if you're not accustomed to it. And now he's living up there full time, and he jumped into re-roofing my house, drywall, plumbing, all of it.
That's amazing.
And we had this discussion, I think heading out to G9, about the tool belt versus the battle belt and how it's so similar. And as I'm on the roof, like I hung my guns up because I've got to fix my house. And it's funny because back in the day, and still to this day, but I like referencing the chivalry of knighthood, they would count the cost before they went to battle. They would know that they would have to go to this village, it would get destroyed, and they'd have to rebuild it after the fact. They would protect, defend, and save, and rebuild. So if you don't know how to swing a hammer, what's the point of pulling the trigger?
Right.
Like what kind of douchebag are you just to go and be that and do that? It's like
You can't destroy without knowing how to create, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so he had no idea, and we're both learning this together. So we're just now getting back on the guns and getting our shot timers out, and it's like, okay, let's start doing this. You have proven yourself. It's quite the vetting process for these guys.
Mr. Miyagi stuff.
I was just gonna say, you guys are getting all deep about it. I was like, wax on, wax off, dude. Like, you got to learn this first.
Yeah, wax right off my roof because he fell off 3 times,
and he keeps coming back.
And he did.
Yeah, that's fine.
And he did. He pushed through all the struggles we had on that reconstruction. So. He's vetted. Now we're getting him plugged in with Copperhead Security Solutions. So they're contracting out of the Pacific Northwest. So now he's in to he's vetted in my eyes. I know he can shoot, and he knows how to learn.
He knows how to put his head down and just get to work. Don't ask questions, man. Sometimes it's just about putting your head down and going to work.
It's the beauty of an 11 Bravo.
Yeah, absolutely. And you get some help on your roof, dude. I'm all for that, too.
It's a blessing. It's a full circle. Everybody's benefited from it. So, we got getting him plugged into to that kind of contracting, trying to set him up with some stuff in Africa as well. But that's his gig. He's wanting to go out and do. So we're doing that, and that's kind of like I'm always open to bring guys in as the long-term mentorship process. I'll always have a place for guys to stay, and they're invited to my table. That's the way I see it.
Awesome.
I'm reading scripture to my kids every morning. We actually just finished the Bible after like 4 years of 1 chapter a day every morning. Not trying to be legalistic about it. I'm not reading it. If I miss a day, I don't like lash myself with a whip on my back or anything, but our aspirations are every single morning that we read a chapter a day, and we just finished the Bible a couple of days ago.
Nice.
That leads me to a question. What's the best place for a guy to start who's curious but doesn't know where to start about the Bible?
The Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, the first 4 books in the New Testament. A lot of guys want to start with Revelation. It's just going to confuse you because to understand Revelation, you have to know the Old Testament. And then to find the beauty in Revelation, you need to read the New Testament. But you understand God's character reading the whole thing as one book. So if you start in Genesis, you're going to be really confused because a lot of it just doesn't make sense. And it takes mentorship and a lot of extra study to really wrap your head around Genesis and the 4 books of the law, 4 books of Moses. I would say we are blessed with the Gospels, and that's Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And it's all of the same story told from different perspectives. And then you push into Paul and Peter and James and all the little guys. But you start reading, start asking the King of Kings to help with mentorship, and I promise somebody will pop in their life. So this guy that's with us, John, his dad hit me up about a month ago. He said he and his wife have been praying for years that John would find a God-fearing warrior to mentor him.
Wild.
Yeah. So
asked and answered.
He doesn't waste anything. And regardless if you're of faith or not, facts are facts. There is a King of Kings. You can't see him. He sees us. And he's using everything. So all this evil that's happening around us, there's a point, there's a reason for it. I have no idea what that could be, but it's pushing, it's moving God-fearing men. It's moving warriors into areas. It's like this pregame staging time we're in, which I think everybody probably agrees with because things are just getting weird and people are doing weird things. I never saw myself ever coming to Idaho, let alone running a ministry or having 7 kids.
Wild. I would say this, man, just thinking about it from the outside. I often think about my times when I was in the military and I'll just say it plainly, I was probably a piss poor mentor. I was a little bit negative.
Likewise.
Man, give yourself some grace, man. Look at the work you're doing now afterwards. And I'm not sure you'd be doing it if you didn't recognize that you were that way before. Right? When you have parents reaching out and saying, hey, this is exactly what we'd prayed for, and you're an answer to that, that's
It's humbling.
It's humbling and it's huge. And I don't know if you would have gone that road if everything was perfect leading up to that, right?
Definitely not. And all of our walks are different, and he built us all uniquely different.
Yeah.
And so that's part of, testimony, that when we go and train these soft guys, I find the Christians in the group, and then I try and give them kind of like a meekness brief and just a witness to them on like what they're called to do. And if they're carrying their faith, stay strong in your faith, and you'll realize that guys will lean on you more than the non-believer types. That's been my experience with all of that. But the last 4 classes we've taught, the entire class has sat through that discussion.
How could you not?
The entire class.
Yeah. How could you not?
It is wild. But I use that, my testimony as the, hey man, I've got more tattoos I can count. I focused on, finding a tattoo artist every deployment I was on. I wouldn't have it without the walk I was on. He put me through all the things that I put through so that I could actually see what it looks like on that side and let them know it's like, update, the other side's better.
How do you teach the gauntlet if you haven't been through it?
Boom.
Right? Man, I feel like I say this in every podcast, but especially this time, I am grateful that there are people like you in this community. Truly. When we're thinking back on and we talk about how it seems like we're building an army in North Idaho, I'm grateful we have people like this and that are willing to commit and use their other experience and pass it on to the next generation. I think that's going to be increasingly important.
And you're covering the northern border for us, so I appreciate that.
No big deal.
Awesome.
We got the North 6.
Well, thank you, bro. This has been,
it's been one
of my favorite podcasts to date, and we've done quite a few. We're pushing an hour and 45 minutes. Just flew by. I was inspired the hell out of me in a number of ways. So
that's awesome.
Probably continue that conversation
Thank
off
you
the air.
Thanks, Neil.
Thank you.